Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name might be Isaiah and today's video is going to be a bit of a clusterfuck. Hopefully a semi-organized one and not around my personal life, but still a bit of a clusterfuck. It started formulating in my mind when I watched a video that was criticizing a specific YouTube channel that posts a lot of hamster puzzle videos where essentially the hamsters are put into different situations and they're supposed to escape. And I've noticed a lot of critique around Squid Game videos that I actually agree with. But what got me going was the person I was watching from was baffled by the criticism that Mr. Beast was getting. Because if you're not aware, Mr. Beast is a very wealthy YouTuber who has a tendency to give money and things away to lower income people. So we have this very wealthy individual putting on a Squid Game to arguably give people a chance to earn money who are in more need than he is. I mean, there's a very high chance he could also just go with like other YouTube influencers and celebrities, but we don't know at this time. At least I don't, because I don't follow anything about Mr. Beast. I'm not a super fan of his, but he's going to be arguably giving people who have less money than him a chance to earn money while also posting it on his YouTube channel in a continuation of creating content to monetize, to get sponsorships, to make money. So he is exactly doing Squid Games, just minus the death. I don't know how that isn't clear that that's worthy of criticism, but it's worthy of criticism. And it led me to thinking about a couple of different things, especially with how people have a tendency to do surface level interpretations of pop culture and media, and the internet will pick it up and run with it, often to the source material's detriment. Squid Game and Mr. Beast being a good example of that, considering the absolute vitriol that Squid Game had for the wealthy elite that were doing all of this in the first place. I mean, I'm sorry, but you'd have to be an idiot to look at Squid Game and think that it was anything but condemning the people that were putting these on. And now it's an internet trend, and we have children playing the games. Some children just playing the games because they see it on YouTube, but some kids watch the show. And children, if you're under the age of 10, you should not be watching that show. You also shouldn't be on my channel, probably. Anyway, so another thing I noticed is I've been wanting to do a video on Danny Phantom because I've been watching a lot of YouTube and I've been watching a lot of YouTube rankings, and Danny Phantom hasn't come up, even though the fact Fairly Odd Parents has. And I am just livid. I got louder, sorry. But I am livid because Fairly Odd Parents has nothing on Danny Phantom. And I think a lot has to do with the fact that Butch Hartman wasn't quite so hands-on with that show. But it's another interesting sort of surface level interpretation of the source material getting taken up by the internet. This time, not so much to its detriment unless you are conservative, because there's a very popular headcanon that Danny Fenton, is a trans man. And I adore that. I endorse that. Get me the biggest, glitteriest pin, and I will assign my own John Hancock and take up the entire page because my last name is absurdly long. But, I mean, I'll beat John Hancock for it himself. You know, whatever. Moving on. But some of the arguments about Danny Fenton being transgender are a little bit sus because they start talking about the specific animation. There's a tendency when Fenton is transformed into his ghost form that his chest will bulge. It's also noted that while he is in his human form, he tends to wear baggier clothes, his posture's different. He ends up having smaller shoulders and wider hips, which is a very femme presentation or a femme reading of it. While his ghost form has wider shoulders, the more Dorito superhero shape that we're very familiar with. Look at any American comic books for a good example of what the traditional masculine hero shape is. They're all Dorito chips. So there, like I said, so there's the chest bulging in some shots and the general way that his body presentation is different between his human and his ghost form. I appreciate the interpretations, but some of the people that are posting this are making it seem like the animators were purposely trying to draw attention to the fact that Danny is a trans man with a chest of some sort. But I'm sorry. I really don't think there is a concentrated effort to canonically make Danny a trans man. Admittedly, there is Danielle Phantom, his female clone, the only stable clone that he has. And if you know anything about clones, you can't just change their XXXY chromosome. Then they're no longer a clone. So that's cool. Though, really, the reason why she is a female clone is because they wanted to do a gender-bent Danny Phantom. But still, in context of the text, in the world that as we understand it, because there is not anything talking about the technology not being able to twist the gender like that, and all of the Morpheld clones were either had no gender presentation or were masculine in gender presentation. But the chest bulging and the body shape is more about how Danny Phantom is a sort of superhero wish fulfillment for Danny Fenton. And so when he does transform, he takes on the more traditional masculine shape, as well as when he's being drawn, sometimes his chest will bulge. It's a stylistic thing because of the actual art style that is being done, not necessarily him having a chest. All that said, trans Danny Fenton, considering was one of my first crushes as a kid, I'm not going to write that off. He is transgender, and you can take that away from my cold, dead hands. Or you can try, because I still have that giant glittery pin, and I will beat you too with it. And finally, the straw that broke the camel's back was today. I follow a subreddit called Men Writing Women. Yes, Reddit, again, I have an addiction. Help me. But I've always found Men Writing Women to be hilarious, especially because I've dabbled in writing stuff like erotica and romance in the past, and I still do to this day. Admittedly, it's all gay, because I am a gay as hell, asexual, biromantic man. But I love following it. I love the ridiculousness of it. There's a lot of reposting, but you know, you learn to live with it. But today, 1984 got posted, and it was the scene where Julia and Winston were together and they were talking. Julia presses into Winston's back, and Winston makes a comment on her firm, ripe breasts giving him life and youth and energy, that sort of thing. I would read you the actual passage, but when I went to look it up for the video, they had deleted it because OP got called out hardcore by a lot of people, including myself. Because, yes, the idea of calling breasts ripe out of context is incredibly weird. The idea of breasts giving a man life is incredibly weird. The Nettle. Sorry, she's being a brat because someone came to fix the fridge today, and now she thinks any noise outside the door means that there are people. So if you hear her in the background, I apologize. So back on topic, there was the juicy, ripe firm breast. They're basically being described as fruit. A youthful woman giving a man life, and Winston also being significantly older than Julia. All of those out of context is extremely creepy. However, 1984 is very well known as a novel about censorship, because within 1984, the party, Ingsoc, is known for, the main character works in the Ministry of Truth, which is a doublespeak way of saying that he works in the censorship department. Literally in the novel, he has to go through for very long days because the constant war has suddenly switched, so they're no longer fighting Eurasia, they're now fighting East Asia. So they have to go back and say, we were always fighting East Asia, we are always going to fight East Asia, and this is the truth. So literally the book is about censorship. Literally the inciting incident when we enter Winston's mind space, so to speak, he has already started committing thought crime. I'm going to be using a lot of doublespeak, I apologize. It is part of the novel of 1984. It has gone through into English vernacular. It's very useful terminology, especially in regards to Christianity and propaganda in general, because thought crime is literally, if you're thinking about something, it is now a crime, and it can be used against you. And considering the New Testament and fundamental Christians and most Christians say that even the thought of doing wrong, like having adultery in your mind, you're basically committing the sin already. That's thought crime. Have a little sprinkle of sin day today. Anyway, so he's already committing the thought crime by choosing to write in a journal when he's basically upper middle class. He's not in the inner party of Ingsoc. He's in the outer party, so he's not like in the know. He knows just enough to be miserable, and he's decided that he is going to stop towing the party line by writing a journal of the events that he recognizes them and not censoring it, which is very much against the party line. And then Julia trips into him and passes a note that says that she loves him, that sort of thing. And they start this romance that isn't really about the romance, in my opinion, because they do fall in love, they spend a lot of time together, and then they get found out, as you would expect, as you know, because Ingsoc is very powerful and they're kind of idiots. And this book ends with that he has betrayed Julia. I'm not going to go too much into detail because it's worth a read. So he ends up betraying Julia, and he has been essentially turned into a loyal puppet of Ingsoc. And she has been too. They see each other again and they leave without doing anything. But part of the culture of the party is that if you're not a prole, if you're in the party at all, sex isn't something that's about pleasure. marriage isn't about romance. Your marriage has to be sanctioned by the party, and sex is only used for recreation, procreation, not recreation. So Winston's basically an incel, but not by his own choosing. It's actually done by external forces instead of internal turned outward forces. So, yeah, it feels weird describing him as an incel, but if you take incel as literally involuntary celibate, and you take the mindset that he has been taught that sex is only supposed to be for this sort of thing, but he's still physically a heterosexual, allosexual man who has urges, who has started questioning the party, who has started rebelling in small ways, and then this woman claims to be in love with him. So he has these horrible thoughts, and he goes with it because it's less about the love, it's less about Julia herself, and it's more about a rebellion against Ingsoc, about wanting to topple it down, about wanting to join the rebellion. Meanwhile, for Julia, she's just like, I'm going to live a double life. It's fine. He's like, I want to go into this. I'm already dead. Like, that is his mantra. He's already dead the whole way through. And at the end of the book, he's basically dead. So, and I mean, some people were bringing up George Orwell's past. There is basically a confirmation that in 1921, which is like 27 years before 1984 was published, he attempted to rape his friend, who immediately cut contact. He has also at some points called himself a Tory anarchist, which for you Americans, us Americans, Tory is basically Republican. So yeah, it's more complicated than that, but I want to simplify it to the Tories are basically Republicans. They are conservative. So interesting ideas. So Orwell himself isn't that great, and of course the language that Winston is using in regards to Julia isn't that great, but it created this sort of snowball effect where nobody was actually talking about the book. OP herself admitted that she hadn't finished the book at the time. She just found the terminology a bit icky. And if I'm remembering correctly, the scene that she had excerpted was either one of the first times that the couple had moved into this sort of like secret place that they thought was safe, or it's like right before they get taken in. So that's fun. And then there are other people also saying, oh, this is shit. This is clearly just a sci-fi writer describing a woman. And I actually replied to that one like, have you actually read 1984? And the answer was no. So all of this is a long-winded spiel of saying, don't just trust what you see on the internet. Don't just blindly follow trends. Like, actually look into shit. Otherwise, you're going to be told that animators were purposely making a trans character when there is no way in hell they were intending that. Or a book well known for censorship and its scathing attitude towards the idea of it is just as gross and simple as any other book, regardless of who the author is. I mean, hell, I love Ender's Game, but Ender's Game's writer is a piece of shit, so, you know. Or you're going to get swept up into an easily monetizable trend that's not even a satire of the original source, and it's literally just the source material being played out IRL. So, you know, that's fun. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I've been productive today, and My sleeping medication is finally in, so I'm probably going to get that tomorrow. Still haven't heard anything from the landlord's area manager. Fingers crossed we'll hear something soon. I'm probably going to send another email tonight because we've had some maintenance fixes, but no actual reply from the area manager. So, communication issues continue to abound. But yeah, stay hydrated, y'all. Get some sleep. That's important. And I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Bye.